Talk. I said talk.
I'm not your wife.
The hell you're not.
I swear to God, I never saw you before 6 weeks ago. Our marriage is just a memory implant.
You think I'm stupid? Remember our wedding?
Was implanted by the agency.
Falling in love.
Implanted.
Our friends, my job, 8 years together. Suppose all of this was implanted too?
The job's real. The agency set it up.
Bullshit.
They erased your identity and implanted a new one. I was written in as your wife so that I could watch you and make sure the erasure took. Sorry, Quaid. Your whole life is just a dream.
Okay, then. If I'm not me, who the hell am I?
Beats me. I just work here. Doug. Doug, there's something I want you to know. You were the best assignment I ever had. Really.
I'm honored.
You sure you don't want to? Just for old time's sake? Come on. If you don't trust me, you can tie me up.
I didn't know you're so kinky.
Maybe it's time you found out.
Praise the Lord for bringing us this generous bounty.
Just give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Wait. I worry what you just heard was, give me a lot of bacon and eggs. What I said was, give me all the bacon and eggs you have.
Living flesh.
I guess that's about 56 minutes, huh?
Bite me. Back on the menu.
That's why I'm hungry. Each word I say, farther into a radical hypno high.
No secret, Mr. Meat. Don't see a part of it.
I'd buy that for $1.
Don't stand for me, please. I'm trying to get back.
Oh, look at me! I'm another baby!
Seem easily upset.
I'm so fucking hungry, Bill. I'm so hungry. I never knew anyone could be so hungry.
What about that time I found you naked in that bowl of jello?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Cinema Beef. If you are wondering why this intro sounds a little different, it's because our head butcher in charge is out. The working world has taken him away from us. He is preparing future endeavors for all the Cinema Beef fans. So I and Suzanne have decided to step up and kind of split hosting duties on this episode. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty normal sounding episode. So I will start off by introducing my lovely co-host, Suzanne. How's it going, Suzanne?
Oh, doing well here. Just been a really, really busy couple of weeks and been looking forward to these movies for a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun doubleheader we got coming up for sure. So next up, we got someone who's a guest to this show, but I don't consider him a guest because he's a co-host on almost everything I do myself. So that would be Mr. Venom. Welcome back to Cinema Beef, Mr. Venom.
Greetings and salutations, beefers. Viva España y viva la Copa Mundial. I'm still riding my high, so I'll be riding this for a few months. How the hell you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well. All right. And last up, we have someone that I think most of us have known for a long time. I haven't podcasted with him in a while, but I'm glad to see he's still around. When Gary mentioned the name, I was like, man, that's a blast from the past, because I think he is removed from the Meta platform. So I just haven't seen him around in a while, but good to see the name pop up and talk movies with him again. So Cort Psyops, welcome to the show.
Hey, I am so happy to be back on the beef. And I am also very happy to be unfuckerberged in my life so much. Best decision I ever made.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I remembered you making that announcement, like, what has it been, years now? And then I was like, I think that's why I haven't seen him for a while.
No, it was, so we just wrapped up our year 10 and we're technically in our year 11, although we don't do constant weekly releases anymore. Like we did 520 straight episodes nonstop. Well, there was nothing straight about them episodes, but they were consecutive. And after that was over, then our 11th year, we kind of took a break for a little while, did a few things, and upon returning just a few months ago, so within this last year or so, I decided to move off of Facebook, but I've been trying to like notify people like, hey, I'm leaving. If you want to get a hold of me, this is how you do it. And I left that active, but never got back on there. And then when I did get a few messages trickle in, I was like, hey, I'm leaving. Just so you know, I won't be interacting anymore. And I've finally gotten like, I think about 6 months later, I think I've made the contacts or kept the contacts for the people that reached out to me and said they wanted to stay in touch. And that's why I finally deleted it. So I've been talking about it for like a while, and I've been wanting to do it for a while, and it has not been fun for years.
Well, I'm glad we get a chance to catch up today on Cinema Beef. It's usually a fun show, and tonight we have a fun doubleheader, so it's I think it's going to be a good time. But first, we're going to start off with what we usually do, catch up everyone with what we've been watching. So I'll kick it to Suzanne first. What do you got for us, Suzanne?
Well, I had planned on watching something else the other night. Figured, I'll watch this one movie for a couple of minutes and then I'll just pause it and move on to what I planned on watching. But no, Fallen, Denzel Washington. This is slowly turning into Slowly My Ass. Now, this has become one of my favorite movies of all time. I absolutely love it. It is such a great take on possession and heaven and hell. Caught that and decided, I got little time to kill, so I kicked back with another one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, the wonderful Return of the Aliens, Deadly Spawn. I know it's the Deadly Spawn, but when I first saw it in the first box I got, one of those giant clamshells, it was Return of the Aliens, Deadly Spawn. And we're not talking just a little bit of blood. Now we are talking 55-gallon drums full of blood with people swimming in it, with one of the best monsters. Other than that, I am going back into The Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know why I stopped watching it when it came out, because I love Edgar Allan Poe. I think started watching it with my husband, and then he got like distracted by some Marvel thing. So we just kind of stopped, and I decided it was time to go back. Plus, basic summertime activities, Cubs games, and pretty much getting beaten up by all of the gigs my husband's band has been playing in. So I get to play, if you look at him cross-eyed, I'll beat your ass. So that's pretty much what I've been watching and what I've been up to.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds like a fun time. And let's keep it going with Mr. Venom. Catch us up on what you've been watching.
All right. What have I been watching? Unfortunately, I've been so busy with work that I haven't been watching a lot outside of the stuff that I watch for podcasts. So that's probably what I'm going to go over. A few things that we've talked about on Fresh Cuts, and one that we didn't get to talk about on Fresh Cuts. That is actually my number one movie of the year, but we'll get to that in a second. First, I wanted to talk about Saturnalia. This one takes place at a boarding school. So, it's a setup that we've seen before. New kid gets to a boarding school. She's treated like crap. She finds out there's something nefarious going on at the school, and hilarity ensues from there. This one, it left me a little disappointed at the ending. It's not a bad film by any stretch. In fact, I would recommend it to most supernatural horror fans. But it definitely is one of those third acts that kind of just left me wanting more. Decent performances, good score, directed and written by Daniel John Lurch. So, a solid film that could have used a little bit more in the horror aspect. But otherwise, not a bad little film. Let's see. We also, and then one that I watched on Netflix recently that we did not get to talk about on Fresh Cuts is Mudborn. This one, I believe, was from Korea, right, Mike? I'm pretty sure you saw Mudborn, didn't you?
I didn't see it because it's on Netflix, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's on Netflix. I mean, it was a Fresh Cuts option for 1 week, but then we ended up going with something else. I think it was the runtime kind of scared us a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was a case where like I added it to my wish list, and then it was like amongst like so many other VOD options, and then we didn't pick it, and then we ended up going to the theater for stuff like so many weeks in a row that it kind of got lost in the shuffle. But maybe based on what you say about it, I'll bump it up or bump it down.
I'm not gonna call this a must watch. It starts out really well, like the first 2 acts are really well. Come off really well, excuse me. You've got a video game designer who's been forced to continue a project for another designer who's gone missing. This video game is basically a murder mystery, but what they're doing is they're using a real life murder mystery that happened in Korea, and they're actually like scanning the location, the place where the murder suicide occurred. And this was an entire family that was killed. So I mean, you're talking like 3 or 4 victims. And of course, again, as the AI team or the environment team, excuse me, is scanning this area, of course they run into things that they didn't expect to find. It's almost like a ghost hunting gone wrong movie, which we've seen plenty of those, stuff like Grave Encounters and the like. But like I said, this one having the video game aspect is a little bit more original. But again, just like the last movie I talked about, the third act left me a little disappointed. It seemed like they were setting up for a really nice, big, bombastic ending, but it just kind of ended up kind of fizzling out by the time we got to the end. So another one that I would still recommend, as it is Korean horror, which, I love Asian horror. Anyone who loves Asian horror should check this out. As Mike and I have both said, it is on Netflix currently. So if you have access to a Netflix account, no reason not to check this one out. This one was solid. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in, since Suzanne went ahead and brought in a couple of her favorites, I'm going to bring in one of my all-time favorites that is almost a monthly watch for me. And that is not an exaggeration, as when I went to college in the early 90s, this movie was a daily watch. And I'm not exaggerating. Literally, my roommates and I think we owned all of 3 VHSs. One of them was Freddy's Dead. Another one was The Empire Strikes Back. And then this movie, which of course is Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused. Literally one of my favorite movies of all time. One of the only movies that I've ever seen that gives us an accurate portrayal of a common high school stoner. I rail about this subject constantly on different podcasts, where kind of like the cinematic portrayal of stoners is always so just boring and stupid, and they make potheads look out to look like absolute losers. I understand why people do that, especially if they've never partaken themselves. They don't understand what cannabis is all about. But to watch Dazed and Confused, you can tell that there was some love for the green stuff on the set of this one. Whether it be actually being people partaking in it on set, or just people having life experience with it. Because like I said, one of the most original and, well, maybe not original. Original is not the right term, because ultimately Dazed and Confused is a day in the life movie. It's literally just a day in the life of these high school kids that are about to become seniors, and basically the adventures that they go on the last day of school. Literally, the movie takes place in a 24-hour period. Like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time. Whenever I see a Dazed and Confused alumni in another movie, I always get excited. And I happily watch that movie, especially when I see them pop up in old like horror TV shows, like Sacha Cohen showing up in an old episode of Tales from the Dark Side or something. Stuff like that just really, really makes me happy. So yeah, Dazed and Confused, like I said, it's just a day in the life story nothing grand about it, you know, just these kids enjoying their last day of school. It's the summer of 1976. I did forget to mention that for anybody who's not familiar with the movie. So you get an amazing score, just loaded with 70s rock and funk. You've got great performances, early performances from people like Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck. Those are probably the two biggest. Oh, and Parker Posey. Three of the bigger names that come out of this movie to actually go on and have great, you know, theatrical careers. So yeah, that's basically what I've been watching. Lots of television, but none of it really genre related. A lot of animated stuff. And what did I start? Oh, and then I started recently watching Avatar season 2 on Netflix, which I am a hardcore fan of the original Avatar animated series from Nickelodeon. I basically disavow the M. Night Shyamalan Last Airbender movie, as it was one of the worst piles of crap I think I've ever laid my eyes on. But this new live action series on Netflix is very solid. I think the original animated series is still probably a little bit better just because of what you can do with animation that you can't do with live action. But I'm still really, really happy with the series. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to, and working about 65 hours a week. So yeah, very tired, but always excited to watch new stuff.
All right, cool. Before I kick it to Cort, I just was going to mention I recently purchased the Criterion Dazed and Confused 4K, and I watched it maybe. I'm trying to look at. I scanned through my letterbox. I think maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Criterion still has their 50% off sale, and I had it on my wish list, and it was one of those cases where, like, I already know I love the movie. I know I'm going to get it eventually, so I kept passing it up for other movies. And then this time I was finally like, you know, why am I not just buying it? So I did, and yeah, it's amazing. I love it. And one thing I really noticed this past time I watched it was the pacing flies by, because like I threw it on, and before I knew it, they were already at the scene kind of after the kegger at the football field, when you kind of break off from the main party just to like your close friend, and like you realize like, wow, the movie's almost already over, because you know, anyone who's seen it multiple times recognizes like, yeah, there's like one more scene after this, and it flies because there's like no downtime, there's nothing like boring, it never slows down for like exposition or like side character development. It's just constant go. So yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites too. And when it first released, I was about junior high age, so at the time I kind of related the most to, I don't even remember his name, but the junior high kid that was about to go into high school. Mitch. And it gave me all these like, yeah, Mitch. It gave me all these bombastic ideas of like what it was going to be an incoming freshman. And then, you know, I actually get into, now granted, this was 76 in Austin, Texas. I would be early mid 90s high school, so it is some time period later, but still, like, I get to high school and it's like nothing, you know, it's completely normal, sanitized, okay. But anyways, the movie, yeah, great cast, a lot of people kind of at the beginning or at their budding years of their career, and it's never gone down in like my rating. It's constant, it always holds. Bunch of great needle drops in this one, so I just figured I'd get that in since you brought it up. But let's go on to Cort. What have you been watching lately?
I want to continue, first of all, the absolute love fest that we have going for Dazed and Confused. I'm going to pretty much ditto everything that you said about how I first experienced it, because it was on cable right as I was getting from 8th grade into 9th grade, and it was literally the summer right before I was getting ready to start high school that movie came into my life, more or less. And that's how I got obsessed with it. Now, the only thing I wanted to add on that is I've always had this weird theory ever since I was a kid about the movie, that it is 100% autobiographical, and both the incoming freshman Mitch and Randall Pink Floyd are the same person at both ends of high school, basically interacting together to tell his sort of life story. Because Randall Pink Flag says the thing about he had a bunch of cool seniors that busted his ass and then took him out drinking, and that's exactly what he does for Mitch.
Yeah, can I throw in my love too?
Absolutely.
Why not?
Because because I feel like I'm the oldest person in the room, which is fine with me. But I watched this movie. I was 22 when I rented it, and I was leaving home to move out on my own. Some people move a block away, some people move maybe an hour away. I moved 1,500 miles away. I was done. And I watched this, and the fact that it does have some idealism to it, you want that year to be what you want to do with your life. So this movie has always played really heavily in the back of my head. And it's one of those movies you put on, and it's like no time has passed. It's fantastic. The music, please believe me, I would give up field hockey to go to an Aerosmith show. Fuck it.
Okay, as for what I've been watching, I wasn't going to admit one thing until Mr. Venom actually brought it up. I've also started watching the second series of the live action Avatar, which I absolutely love the original series. I was really, really obsessed with that. I think it was probably the very earliest days of streaming when it hit Netflix is when I got into it. I'm talking about like when Netflix just was sort of crossing over from disc to streaming is about the era that I got obsessed with that series. And the live action is definitely the better version of the live action ones, but I also agree there's so much more you can do with the animation, and it's been really fun. I actually rewatched the whole animated series in anticipation of watching the second season when it came out, and then rewatched the first season again just to kind of get all of the feels together and kind of be able to compare and contrast, just because that's how my brain works. We all review movies for fun, right? And TV shows and things. So we all know how that is. You want to be able to compare and contrast and kind of look at different takes on how things were made. And that's been a lot of fun. I've been going through the Boys Gen V kind of combination where they all work together to tell the same story. I watched The Boys season 4. I never watched the Gen V series. And that kind of threw me off, and my wife and I kind of just stopped and didn't watch season 4. So when season 5 came out to just kind of close that off, I decided to restart and actually watch the third season again, then Gen V, and then my wife and I rewatched the 4th season, and we're currently working our way through the second season of Gen V in anticipation to close this unnecessarily gross series off. Movie wise, been into the theater a few times, saw Masters of the Universe. I actually really enjoyed it. I think if you're a He-Man fan and you grew up watching He-Man, you should probably enjoy it as much as I did as well. We did see Obsession in theaters. The less said about that film, the better, other than I did really find it quite horrific in a lot of the scenes, although there's some other things that I found to be a bit more doldrum. And I think the more horror and various things that you watch, the more you start to see things that are very familiar to you in the newer media coming out, whether that is someone is influenced by it or they have an idea they think is original, but you've already seen in a Tales from the Crypt episode, or perhaps like a Night Gallery, or even, the whole Monkey's Paw comparison.
Simpsons episode.
Simpsons episode. Yeah, that's another one. Absolutely. And then the last thing I watched was Evil Dead Evil Dead Burn. Not a fan.
Thank you, Cort. Thank you.
I will say this, it's not terrible, but my own wife looked at me and said, "Am I getting desensitized?" And I went, "No, that was fucking boring." She just was like that. She just kind of was kind of shocked at how much nothing really moved her. Is this a marketing ploy that they're trying to get people to watch it by saying that it's the meanest one out of all of them? Because the people that are saying that, I don't know if they're watching the same film as me or if I'm just that fucking psychotic. But knowing that at least the three of you agree with me from my Evil Dead board joke, I'm happy and I feel vindicated, and I'm done. I'll shut up now. Sorry.
100% agree. Worst Evil Dead movie. It barely feels like an Evil Dead movie, like maybe for the first act, but by the time, and me and Mike talked about this at length on the Fresh Cuts episode when we reviewed it, that final confrontation, like what the fuck was the point of that? Like that felt so out of place in an Evil Dead movie. It just felt I don't know. It just felt like giving this abused woman her her closure or whatever, but it had no bearing on anything outside of her, and that bothered the shit out of me, on top of the fact that it was just a completely CGI monstrosity. So yeah, I hated that final confrontation. Awful.
Yeah, there's bits of it that are pretty decent. There's some really cool gross gore effects that they did, but getting rid of a lot of practical for CG, I agree with you. And I feel like that final confrontation with the burn up, like, Deadite coming back to get his abused wife was like a direct, almost scene for scene reshoot of what happens to Mia at the end of the Evil Dead remake that she's in, where the abomination thing comes up out of the earth when it's raining blood. And there's a lot of running and hiding and then fighting and then running and hiding and fighting. And it's almost like kind of the same, the way she goes and darts behind stuff. And I think my wife's biggest complaint about that was like, how did this movie think it was so scary to keep throwing people against walls and floors? She got tired. She literally got tired of watching people getting thrown against walls and floors. And I was like, but they do that all through the first one too, right? And she's like, yes, but you can tell that they're actually getting hurt. And it looks horrific. And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, it does also not the only thing that they do. So yeah. And also wanted to go back. Suzanne's love of Fallen, got absolutely obsessed with that movie when that hit cable my senior year of high school. And I totally agree. And I think that movie was a better Evil Dead movie than Evil Dead Board.
I'll go with
it's funny when I went and saw the first remake of Evil Dead, I dragged my husband to the theater with me. I'm like 10 minutes into the movie. I looked at him. It's like, I fucking hate this. And then, we went on a matinee, and they had it was one of the first theaters in the area that, let's be honest, allowed you to drink. They had a full bar. So, 4 lemon drops and a giant beer later, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this movie sucks. And the second, I really, really hated the remake. I really did. I hated it, especially because the whole movie could have been over in 10 minutes if everybody had just laid down and just fucking died. There was not a single likable person. So that's my little go off on that remake, and the fact that they're like, oh, it's all practical effects. There's no CGI. I'm like, I'm sorry. You lie. There is so much CGI here. Okay, rant over. Thank you.
I feel less bad about my savaging of Evil Dead Board. I'm just going to call it that one. Fuck it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I said to my wife was the Evil Dead remake is now my least favorite of the Evil Dead series after watching Evil Dead Board. I was like, I don't hate it, but it's now my least favorite. It's just the least good of them all. It's not terrible. It's just the least good, which is kind of weird thing for me to complain about, right? And I actually really enjoyed the Evil Dead remake for all of its flaws, just because it was so unnecessarily gross, and the unrated version has my heart.
No, I actually watched it again to make sure that I hated it as much as I thought I did. And like I said, my problem is there's not a single character here that I wanted to live. I'm like, oh, just please open the book, read it, just fucking die. Please die. And the whole throwing away of the whatever the little ritual was, I'm like, oh yeah, been there, done that. Just die. Please. Please. Make it bloody, which was cool. I love the dancing corpse in the original Evil Dead. Yeah, that was like some serious practical effects on a very low budget. But this one, it was like, Jesus, you've got to be kidding me. I'm sitting here for this, and because even though it was a matinee, there were maybe 15 people there that were actually, and I'm like whispering to my husband, once again, 4 lemon drop martinis and a really giant beer. So maybe I'm not as whispery as I think I am. And then the whole, oh wait, We have to stay till after the credits because apparently there's an Easter egg at the end. You know what I get? Groovy. I was at this point when that happened, I looked at my husband, I'm like, fuck this movie. And now I'm done again. Rant part 2.
All right, now next up is our preview thoughts on Evil Dead Wrath.
You know, I'm going to give it a chance because I wasn't really thinking I would like Evil Dead Rise, and I really enjoyed that one. Apart from the original series, it's been the best one of these like newer remake ones so far, and it has a lot to do with I gave a shit about every character that was in that film. Like, and I felt for them. It had a lot more heart than this most recent one does. It just didn't work for me. And then Evil Dead, the remake, didn't have the heart either, but it sure had the grue and grossness and dark humor that I was hoping for. So, but like I said, Evil Dead Board is now just the least favorite.
All right. Well, that was a little bonus review. Hope everyone enjoyed that more than Evil Dead Board. or fans of Evil Dead Board have now officially sworn off this show, or at least this episode. So
yeah, don't at me, bro. I'm not on your social medias anymore.
All right, so I will keep it brief because I watch a lot of stuff while I'm working, so I'm never going to go over like everything, but I will bunch a couple together just because it's a movie and its sequel, and that would be from 1980 and 1984, The Exterminator and Exterminator 2. And you can guess what kind of movie it is. I mean, I would say these are like B movies of B movies, so I don't know if that makes it a C movie, but think like Escape from New York mixed with a little like Running Man-esque. Yeah, basically the first one is this guy getting revenge on the mob because they paralyzed his friend who's in the hospital. So we get a big revenge scene. Now, I looked up the ratings of the two, and it seemed like the first one is rated a little higher, like as aggregate, but I actually kind of like the second one a little better because I feel like it's more absurd, more over the top, more violent. And then you have Mario Van Peebles as the gang leader, and he's decked out in like Mad Max-like gear and stuff. So, and to me, if you're going to make these B-movie ripoffs, like, they're not going to be good in the traditional sense. So what do you want to do? You want to ramp everything up to 11 as far as like the violence and just vulgarity and all that kind of stuff. And if that's what you're looking for on a evening, they both deliver. So that's Exterminator and Exterminator 2. The next one is the classic. I assume everyone here knows about it. Night of the Hunter. I don't even know why I threw it on. I mean, it's an all-time classic in my eyes, but man, it's terrifying. Robert Meacham, and this was a handful of years before he was Max Cady in the original Cape Fear. And man, I don't know if this is the role that convinced him to cast him, but he is terrifying in this, in his pursuit of that $10,000. And some of the shots in this movie, I know people consider this like an early Southern Gothic noir movie, and I think it perfectly kind of describes the style, the black and white cinematography, the use of the score. And there's a sequence where the kids are escaping his clutches and they're trying to get to like a little rowboat on the lake, and his pursuit, and just that whole sequence is great. So Night of the Hunter, if people haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. I believe it's on Prime, but I think it was listed as like leaving soon. So hopefully it pops up somewhere else if you don't own it. It is worth owning it. I don't think it has a 4K yet, but it definitely has a Blu-ray. The next one, The Housemaid, and not the Sydney Sweeney one from last year or maybe earlier this year, actually. It's from 1960. And let's see, what's the name of the director? Kim Ki-young. And I had this on my list. I'm doing the 100 years, 100 movie challenge this year, and this was number 35, so 1960. And this is Actually, surprisingly, it is kind of a similar setup if you have seen that modern housemaid movie. I mean, I don't think they're related in any way because the modern one is based on a book, but this one, it's basically a husband and wife take on a housemaid because the grind of being new parents and the husband's working and the wife is kind of overworked at home. Take on a housemaid. The housemaid ends up to be not all there mentally, and like everything you think would ensue does, as far as like it changes the whole dynamic of the house. Things go a little bit crazy, and I won't spoil it because I assume not a lot of people have seen this one, just being a 1960 movie. But it was really good. I really highly recommend this one, and it did so much that I actually started I compiled a list of this director's movies on Letterboxd that one day I'll eventually get to, because curating lists tends to be our favorite pastime, and then we look over it every once in a while like, wow, I'm probably never going to get to these, but I really want to watch them. So yeah, Housemaid. And then the last one is actually a 20, or I think it's a 2026 movie. I mean, it's listed as 2024, but I don't think it was available till now. I think it's just one of those cases of being an indie movie where like, oh, we threw it around this the festival circuits, but it finally got picked up, and that is Monkey's Magic Merry-Go-Round. And I got to tell you, the title sounds goofy. It sounds like it's a mistake to throw it on, but I found this movie to be kind of like if the premise of Hokum took place in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood's neighborhood of make believe. And if that's a lot to take in, just digest it a little bit and realize what I'm saying. And that's kind of what this. Originally, I was like, maybe it's like The Shining in the neighborhood of make believe, but I thought about it more, and I'm like, it kind of follows like a lot of the themes that Hokum does, with the main character going through the mental stuff and the past trauma, and a totally different setting. And I really liked it. And I got to say, 2026, it's kind of impressing me with like the bizarre stuff that's coming out this year, because Buffet Infinity I really liked, and that's probably one of the most bizarre ones so far I've seen. And then I think there's one coming out in August called like Benny, which looks like another kind of like crazy childhood show gone awry. So keep them coming, because we're gonna be deprived of like a lot of theatrical stuff, I think, for the next couple of months. I mean, there's some stuff sprinkled in here and there, but it's going to be VOD for a lot of the rest of the year. So give us the bizarre, give us the absurd. I'm here for it, because a lot of times that ends up being better than like the VO stuff they try to make serious. But yeah, so Monkey's Magic Merry-Go-Round now available on VOD. So find where it's streaming and check it out if that at all sounds interesting to anybody here or listening. And,
I'm glad you brought up Buffet Infinity, because I actually completely forgot to. Earlier, when I started talking about what I've been watching, I said I was going to bring up my number one horror film of the year, and then I completely forgot to. But then here comes Mike to bring it up. Yes, Buffet Infinity is my favorite horror film of the year. I absolutely adore it. I do wish that they would not have changed the presentation style in the third act. I understand why they did it, which is why I'm not going to rail against it necessarily. But I adore that film. I've watched it like 5 times already. And I bought it digitally since there's no physical release for it yet. But goddamn, do I love that movie. I highly recommend it if you like it. I'll just say this. If your favorite part of the WNUF Halloween special was the fake commercials, you will absolutely love Buffet Infinity. So check it out as soon as you can.
Yeah,
you're not the first person that's mentioned that movie to me, and apparently that's moving way to the top of the list now.
Yeah, I mean, WNUF is literally a Halloween night watch for me every year since it's been released. I absolutely love that film. And yeah, Buffet Infinity is probably the closest thing to come to it since. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those movies where, like, as much as I really like it, I can see like me recommending it to the wrong person. They're like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" But so I'm saying, like, anyone that likes WNUF or that kind of style in a movie, go see Buffet Infinity because it's really good and it was really well done. It's creative, it's kind of innovative, and I love how it kind of like slow walks what it's ultimately going to be, and then it just adds a little layer every scene, and then I thought it was great.
And my Halloween watches, same 3 every year. I always start off with Trick or Treat, just because I can rock out to that soundtrack and get all pumped up for whatever I'm going to be doing. Followed up with WNUF, and just to add the scares to it, I always throw on Ghost Watch after.
Ah, nice.
I still have not seen the second WNUF. Is it still only available to like buy directly from them?
And I think it's still only available on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, my VHS player finally bit the dust about a year ago, and I've done everything I can. I can't even resurrect it. I talked to 2 of my machinist friends to see if they could build parts for it, and they're like, just give it up.
I have a VHS player in the garage. Now, I know when we put it in there, it was still working, so I assume like it's just resting and it would work if I ever want to use it again, but you never know. Like, it's been a long time.
No, the reels will dry rot.
Yeah, video heads don't do well in a hot garage for too long. Old video.
No,
heads,
they don't.
Anyway.
Now you got me depressed. So
I know. I was
but you can buy a VCR for like $20. So there's that.
Well, then again, I should probably go check that out, because I was about ready to go through the second purge of my VHS tapes, because I threw out, I think, roughly 80 pounds of VHS tapes. And now I could kick myself in the ass for doing that.
Yeah, too many yard sales of things that now go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars on my
I know.
account with VHS tapes. I want to bring it back really quick to, we were talking about The Exterminator and Exterminator 2 because Mike just recently rewatched them. The writer and director, James Glickenhaus, of the original Exterminator, and then he wrote the second one, has been responsible for some serious cinematic masterpieces that are very similar to The Exterminator as a director. The one I want to highlight is right around 1991. He made a movie called McBain. If that sounds like a Simpsons reference to you, that is because the Simpsons are referencing that movie. It is ridiculous. There's a scene in there where I think, if I remember correctly, McBain, who is played by Christopher Walken, and yes, you'll thank me later after you watch the movie now that you know that, shoots a jet in air with a handgun from a helicopter and explodes it. It's just, it's like a level of ridiculous. Like I cannot even describe. So yeah, McBain, I highly recommend. If you like silly, weird action films, check out McBain. And I think the people that own the rights to that movie actually tried to get a cease and desist going on The Simpsons to stop using the name McBain for that action character, because they knew that it was ruining the way that people would take their movie serious, as if that was something that you could do after that scene I just described.
Yeah, the fact that a movie called McBain and Christopher Walken is in it, that I'm already sold.
With blonde hair, I think. Yeah. I think his hair's all blonde.
I like blonde Christopher Walken.
It was the best part of Living Daylights, right? Wasn't that? Was it? No, he was.
No, it was no, View to a Kill.
View to a Kill, yeah. That was the best part of that movie. Besides Grace Jones, obviously, was Christopher Walken's like yellow flat top. It wasn't even blonde; it was like straight up yellow.
And back to Exterminator for a minute. Robert Ginty, Mr. Babyface himself, was like literally there, hot in a bunch of movies. I mean, not hot as in ooh hot, but hot as an actor for about 20 minutes. But he was so good. It's a crime.
He carries that movie, like the Exterminator for sure, and Exterminator 2. I like a lot more, because Exterminator is like, let's do Death Wish, only let's give the guy a garbage truck and a flamethrower. And then that's Exterminator 2. But Exterminator is like Death Wish in that he goes out and kills people for revenge. And in the second one, he has a garbage truck and a flamethrower, and it's like almost Death Wish 3, where like there's no way that there's a city that's descended this far into like Italian movie, a post-apocalyptic style like they portray in those Death Wish movies. And that's what Exterminator 2 is very much like. It takes place in that same world.
Oh, goddamn, I love Death Wish 3.
My favorite of the series for that very reason.
They killed the giggler.
Yeah, I actually
I've always been, when it comes to Bronson, I've always been a huge fan of Assassination. I don't know why. I love the body of work, but Assassination is just so over the top and ridiculous. I just love it.
Mine's Mr. Majestic, which we haven't done on my show yet, but I really need to. That's my favorite Bronson movie of all time.
Mr. Majestic's great. I was about to buy 10 to Midnight, but the price just like went up by $15.
Yeah, 10 to Midnight's a really good one as well. Yeah.
Yep.
But absolutely, my very first Bronson movie was Mr. Majestic. I saw it on TBS as a kid, and I was just enamored with it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, and I
think Mechanic, but Mechanic literally got
Mechanic, yeah.
Bunch of mini reviews, but not the actual reviews we were meant to do, right, guys?
Glad you brought that up, because I think that's a good time to take a break and listen to a movie trailer for our first movie. We are still in the month of Something Growing on You theme. So first up, I guess I can say it now. First up is going to be Basket Case. So we will take a break while you listen to that trailer and be back to discuss Basket Case.
What is the secret Dwayne is hiding in the basket?
What's in the basket? Easter eggs?
What's in the basket?
Clothes. What's in the basket?
Nothing.
What's in the basket?
My brother.
What's in the basket?
Open it, if you dare. Basket Case.
All right, our first movie up from 1982, I believe Frank Hennenlotter's debut, at least like feature debut, is Basket Case. And we'll take the synopsis off IMDb. I assume like everyone listening is familiar, but a young man carrying a big basket that contains his extremely deformed, formerly conjoined twin brother seeks vengeance on the doctors who separated them against their will. So I will kick it around the cast to get kind of our general thoughts on Basket Case. So let's see. Who do I want to go? I'll go to my tried and true co-host, Venom. What did you think of? Well, I'm posing it like this is your first time seeing it, which I assume it's not. So just tell us about Basket Case. What do you think about it?
I am a gigantic Frank Hennenlotter fan. I love all of his movies, granted in varying degrees, not to say that they're all just as good as the last, but on a podcast that I was on that ended, unfortunately, a few years ago called In the Mic of Madness, we actually did a Hennenlotter retrospective where we actually did all of his films from Basket Case up to Bad Biology. And man, what a filmography this guy has. I think Brain Damage is probably still one of my favorite ones to watch. I know Frankenhooker is, one that people kind of gravitate towards. And of course, this movie, Basket Case. But yeah, man, something about Elmer and or Elmer, as it's spelled very weird. I think Elmer's probably still acceptable, but I know it's spelled oddly. But yeah, something about brain damage just always worked for me. But anyway, back to Basket Case. What's funny about Basket Case for me is that I watch this almost annually, but it's not for the kills. It's not to see, our main star, and it's not to see Belial. I've said this on multiple podcasts, and now I'm saying it here. I watch this movie to see old New York. I miss old New York. Suzanne made a comment earlier about being the oldest one here. If you were 22 when Dazed and Confused came out, I am definitely older than you. But I am an East Coast kid. For those who don't know, I come from Connecticut, less than 2 hours outside of New York City. And at least once a month, I would take a metro train into Times Square. And man, New York in the 80s, man, it had a pulse. It was like a living, breathing city. When you go to Times Square now, it's just so generic with its coffee shops and comic book stores and just the M&M store. It's just so commercialized now. I miss the days when you could go and go to a strip club for a couple of hours and then cross the street and go see a martial arts double feature at the Strand Theater. It's like, that's my New York. Watching this movie reminds me of the dirty, grubby, unsafe New York that most upstanding citizens would try to avoid. I loved it as a teenager, underage, mind you. I would take the train into New York City and I look at all the porn shops and the prostitutes, drug deals at every corner. It's like, that was New York to me. And I know that's a weird thing to say because it's like I'm kind of embracing the debauchery of old New York, but it's like that's what it felt like being there. And Basket Case is one of those movies that really brings that feeling back to me, that dirty, grubby, the hotel that Dwayne stays in feels like a hotel that I've been in. Just talking to the prostitutes, having whole conversations with them that, obviously they knew, being underage, I had no interest in paying money for anything that they had to offer. But some of the stories that these women would tell just were amazing. One of them even I think one of them told a story about her. She almost got murdered by a serial killer. Like, this is the New York that I miss. And again, I know that sounds awful because, ultimately Times Square is a much safer place now for white people with money, but white people with money don't concern me. So yeah, I miss old New York. So yes, Basket Case.
I grew up in New York.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, we'll discuss when it's my turn, but yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, like I said, this and a lot of other Hennenlotter movies. I know like Basket Case 2 and 3 take place on Long Island. I actually had an aunt that lived on Long Island. So again, Hennenlotter reminding me of my childhood and all the different times I would visit New York State. Just love it. Now, the movie itself, it's a fun little independent movie. As long as you don't go in expecting, amazing special effects and amazingly bloody kills. There are some great kills in this movie. And man, what's funny is that I almost always forget how brutal that surgery scene is. For as often as I watch this movie, it always kind of surprises me that, oh yeah, this is like one of the bloodiest scenes in the whole movie is the damn surgery scene. So, and painful, obviously. But yeah, overall, fun movie. I like our main character. I like Belial. I like our story. I like the interesting dichotomy between Dwayne and Belial as far as how one feels like they can't live without the other, to the point that he would actually kill the first girl that his brother, gets serious with. I mean, yeah, Belial is definitely, by the end of this movie, Belial goes from a sympathetic character to the absolute villain of this movie. But I like the journey. The journey from point A to point B is so just great these characters in the hotel manager, like just everybody in here, whether they were meant to be a scumbag or not, they're somehow still likable. Like I like everyone in this building, even the old guy that tries to steal from Dwayne. It makes sense. It totally comes from reality. So just overall fun film, something that I love. I own the box set, so this is something that I kind of return to. I actually love Basket Case 2. Basket Case 3 leaves me a little like I there are elements of Basket Case 3 that I like, but overall it didn't do a whole lot for me. But I actually love Basket Case 2. I think that's a great film. I love that twist ending. It kind of brings Dwayne and Belial's story full circle. And especially when you find out, when you know of the existence of Basket Case 2 and some of the events that take place there, it adds more emotional weight to the original, especially, like I said, Belial attacking, the first girl that, has given Dwayne any kind of attention. So yeah, overall fun movie. I enjoy it for, it's a silly concept, but ultimately for an indie movie from the early 80s set in my favorite city in the world, I absolutely love this film. So yeah, I'll shut up. I've been talking way too long about this.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up like old New York, because I was too young in this era to like experience it firsthand, but it is one of my memories about like a lot of independent film, or I don't know about, well, independent / low budget, I guess, film that took place in cities like New York or Chicago, even LA to some extent, depending on the movie, where they just looked like the most dangerous but interesting and like places you wanted to go despite the danger. Like there was something appealing, there was something like intoxicating about like the life of like what kind of life do you live on like the streets of these big cities. By the time I got old enough to like actually start venturing out on my own, like a lot of the grime and the filth was like cleaned up, or at least like pushed into like corners of the city. But it's one of the things I miss about film, like this era. Now for me it was more VHS. Like I would find these movies, including this one, Basket Case, when I saw it for the first time. It took me a while, because the classic case of, hey, the video store has one copy. It seems to always be rented out, so you end up seeing 10 other movies before you get to it. But the cover of Belial in the basket with the eyes sticking out always was like a creepy looking box cover on the VHS, and finally got a hold of it. And yeah, it's just a weird ass little movie, but it's fun. And you see Hennenlotter, like the kind of sense of humor in the macabre that he brings to like not just this movie but all his movies. But you see the foundation set here. The practical effects is just like, I love the kind of DIY practical effects aspect to it. Something that just seems to get lost in a lot of movies in this era. Like it's not completely gone. We still have low budget and independent movies doing practical effects, but man, there was just something about this era. The goofy, our goofy brother character in this, Dwayne, he always cracks me up with like just the hairstyle they have in this movie. That 80s kind of froey looking hair they got him wearing, it loud and proud in this movie. And
well, he looks like the lead singer of REO Speedwagon.
That is true.
He can't fight this feeling.
Yeah, you got to catch him on the run. And
at the end of the movie, it was time for him to fly, I guess.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we are old.
Yeah. Everyone listening is like Googling, like, who the hell are they talking about here?
Right?
Oreo what?
The fuck are these old
Kevin
people talking
Cronin.
Are they talking about Oreo cookies? What?
Oreo Speedwagon, what the hell?
That's my new favorite tribute band name for REO Speedwagon is Oreo Speedwagon.
Oh, hell yeah.
But to that point, Venom, like I love movies where the city it takes place in is a character in itself. And I think that's part of like the appeal to like the old world cities before they kind of cleaned up and just became bigger versions of like every other city. They kind of felt distinct. They kind of, they were always going to be part of the movie. And I love the side characters in this. Just everyone's kind of like quirky and different. Like there's almost no character in this movie you would consider like a normal person, quote unquote normal. They all kind of eccentric in their own ways. But yeah, I'm gonna kick it to Suzanne next. What are your thoughts on Basket Case?
I just love the hell out of this movie. And it was I got a little blurb when I started the movie. I was too lazy to pull out my Blu-ray of it. So I'm like, where is it streaming? Fuck yeah. So, and there was a blurb that it was preserved by the Museum of Modern Art. That says a lot about this movie and the use of, basically it was filmed in the Bowery district where you can literally see, smell, and almost touch the sleeves just dripping off everything. And I'm gonna go with Venom here. I love part 2. Part 2 is just fantastic. And what makes part 2 great for me, because I watched it like end of summer, and I'd been watching, soap operas with my grandmother all week. There were a ton of soap opera stars in part 2. Right down to, I don't know if there's any Young and the Restless fans here who remember Victor and Nikki, but their daughter, Victoria, she played his love interest in Basket Case too. So there's just a little sidebar that probably means nothing. But yeah, there's just something magical about this movie. The practical effects are just brilliant. And even, I swear it looked like stop motion claymation when Belial is running around destroying the room. And he stretched every single penny of that shoestring budget for everything that was done. And it was done in such a vivid way. I mean, it is literally just so much. You can touch it and smell it. I can smell the damn garbage on the street. But I mean, you have to admit this. At its heart, it's kind of a love story. The love between two brothers and one brother trying to go his own way. But that bond is a little stronger, and we get like a little scene that is obviously Stuart Gordon had seen this movie, that's kind of stole a part of this, you know what I'm talking about, from Reanimator. But yeah, this is just, it's classic New York. And I agree. I remember the city just being piled up with garbage. I was like, maybe 13 or so when we moved to central New York. But I still went back a lot and visited my friends. And, I can't remember what movie we went to see at one of those theaters on 42nd Street where, thank God, it was raining because we were beating the rats off with our umbrellas. And the bathrooms were horrifying. So, yeah, it's a slice of that time that's so gone. There's no character in New York anymore. Even, I live right outside of Chicago now. Chicago has no character anymore. You know where not to go. And everything is sanitized now, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, Basket Case, this is definitely one of those movies that every few years I just have to kick back with Dwayne and Belial. And by the way, don't name your kid Belial after a demon, and maybe they won't be psychotic. Maybe just a thought. I don't know. But I do have to throw out one of my favorite scenes in this movie. I love it when they set the trap and cut the old man in half. It is just beautiful. And thank God they had the auntie there that really gave a damn about them. And I'm so happy for her because she's the superstar in this. So yes, Basket Case, wonderful. And that's where I'm going to leave off.
As many tantrums as Belial throws in this movie, he's still not as annoying as the kid in Babadook. So, there.
Why can't he just be normal?
All right, Cort, bring us home on Basket Case.
Okay, well, ditto to just about everything everybody had to say except for the first time that they watched it and how they watched it. And I'm obviously not old enough to have made it to a New York that I so desperately pine for that exists in this film. But just knowing that there were so many theaters that you could just walk into and just start watching so many great films that I'm obsessed with nowadays from the video era and renting VHS as a kid. Man, I pine for some type of time travel that I could waste on going to that era of Times Square. It seems really dumb, but that's what I would do. I wouldn't try and save the world. I'd just go back and stay there, and that would be my happy place. A few things I want to add. There is a missed opportunity that Hennenlotter had with this film. The lady who plays Sharon, she was in a punk band. I think they were called the Tattooed Vegetables. The band, every single one of the members were female and shaved their heads. Her head was shaved. She was wearing a wig, and it was a very bad wig at that. They could have had Belial scalp her, and it could have been a very cheap and easy effect to do just using the wig. Only thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, everything else about the film, absolutely love. I hate trying to say things are quote-unquote lightning in a bottle, but that's what this film would definitely feel like unless you go out and seek Hennenlotter's other material, because he continues variations on these themes and these ideas and stretching so little money so far and doing so much amazing work. And I'm even a bigger fan of the stuff he's doing now. His documentary work is impeccable. That Sexploitation is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. And Hennenlotter is the whole reason that thing exists. I'm not going to stretch out my review any further because if anybody wants to hear what I have to say about all three Basket Case films, I got an episode. I did a full franchise fest on them, and I ranted and raved and talked about how much I love them all. And everybody already covered it. So I'm just going to stop here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I expected Basket Case was going to get a lot of love with this crowd, just knowing all of our tastes through the years in movies. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching it for the first time as a result of listening to the show, I would say get a hold of more kind of comedy mixed with weird, bizarre horror and practical effects. And he tends to get better with the skill, like the skills and the practical effects. It tends to get better with each movie in many ways. But I will leave it at that for Basket Case, and we will take a short break to listen to the trailer for our second movie, which is Total Recall. So we will be right back.
Your mind. It is the center of your life. It is everything you hear, everything you see, everything you feel. It is everything you are. How would you know if someone stole your mind?
Arrest that woman!
Quaid.
Cut.
Get ready for a surprise!
We can't let him run around. He knows too much. They've got you bugged.
I get a lock.
There!
The bug's in your skull.
Take this thing out of the case and stick it up your nose. Don't worry, it's self-guiding.
Got him.
I lost him.
Welcome to Mars.
You got a lot of nerve showing your face around here.
Look who's talking.
They erased your identity and implanted a new one.
If I'm not me, who the hell am I?
He's got a hologram!
Welcome to Johnny Cab.
Drive!
Where can I take you tonight? Please fasten your seatbelt.
I want clay delivered alive for reimplantation.
That's for making me come to Mars. You wouldn't hurt me. After all, we're married.
Consider that a divorce.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Second movie on the bill tonight is 1990's Total Recall. When a man goes in to have a virtual vacation, memories of the planet Mars implanted into his mind. An unexpected and harrowing series of events forces him to go to the planet for real. Or is he? And we have directed by the wonderful Paul Verhoven. And you have to admit, we got a stand-up cast here. Arnold, Sharon Stone, Michael Ironside, whatever happened to Rachel Tickerton, Ronnie Cox, Marshall Bell, one of my favorite understated characters, Michael Champion. So we're going to start this off. Cort, you're on.
Copenhagen, give these people air. Sorry, I had to do it. Jesus, what is there to actually say about Total Recall here in this day and age? I think I probably saw this film at a very, very early age. I think it was like my uncle recorded like several movies that were on a Showtime preview to a VHS. So it was like an Arnold Schwarzenegger fest of like Predator and then Total Recall and then like another movie. And I remember watching that tape so much that I wore it out and I ended up having to rent Total Recall just so I could record it again. Same thing with Predator and all of that. We were kind of talking about it off mic and Venom mentioned that this is the movie, right? This is the one that Arnold Mimi noise actually comes from with that review, or just everybody watching this film. And there's so many quotable lines in this. The one thing that I still to this day will do anytime anyone says 2 weeks is almost the entirety of the 2 weeks scene, including jamming my hands in my mouth and pulling on them, shouting 2 weeks. And when someone says I have 2 weeks vacation, I almost end up in HR every time by responding that way. So this is probably my favorite Paul Verhoeven film. I'm not really a huge fan of Star Trek Troopers, but I know why a lot of people would probably like that one more. I really do dig a lot of the themes that they've got going. I know this is like nothing like the book. They've completely changed it, and I've never really read the book. I've only ever really experienced this film, and it's just always like a pure joy to watch. You can always just have it on in the background and just let it play. There's so many quotable lines, so many really cool moments. And I got to say, watching it again to just review this show, I am enamored with Michael Ironside's performance. He is somehow understated and chewing the entire scenery everywhere in every scene he's in all at once, and it's amazing. And I love that Ronnie Cox is basically playing the evil corporate overlord guy from RoboCop, but on Mars. That's just the same guy. Copenhagen and the guy that ran OCP are the exact same person. I think they just were born in two different eras. So it's a wonderful film. It's really fun to watch. It's just a pure joy and dumb action film, but also filled with some really great practical effects. Some of the seams are a little bit more visible in the mutants these days. Some of the things are a little bit more obvious in the differences between body sizes than that 2 weeks scene that I was mentioning where he's trying to sneak through customs and then his mask fails. And there's a few things that are a little bit more obvious, but I think that's more because I've watched so many films now and I look for things like that, like seams and effects and all of that kind of stuff. The shifting in reality that happens in the story, the way that it tries to fuck with your head and you're not sure what is real and what is fake, is always a fun thing that a visual medium like film does. I really enjoy the scene where the guy's trying to convince him that he's trapped in a chair about to have some kind of like embolism and die if he doesn't take this red pill. And I wonder if maybe the Matrix folks were kind of borrowing something there. Who knows? But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy Total Recall. And we didn't even talk about the part where Quato's growing on you yet.
All right, Mr. Venom.
Again, just like with Cort, I mean, what could I say about this film that hasn't already been said a million times? This is peak Arnold Schwarzenegger, in my opinion. I mean, this whole run that he had with like Commando and this and other movies of the period, I mean, like I absolutely adored Schwarzenegger in the late 80s, early 90s. I've never been a big sci-fi fan, so when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was a little worried about it at first, but I did end up actually going to the theater to see this one when it first came out and fell in love with it instantly. I mean, yes, it's sci-fi, but it's so much more than that. I mean, you've got the espionage, the political drama, the spy stuff. Obviously some good practical effects with the people, breathing in the atmosphere of Mars, or at least the original atmosphere of Mars. Beautiful scenes, great story. Anytime I can see a woman with 3 breasts, I mean, how am I not going to take that opportunity? So of course, I absolutely love that.
Third one should be in the back for dancing.
Is actually oh yeah. I actually really like Thumbelina in this one. There's a few deleted scenes with her that I wish would have been left in the movie. It would have kind of expanded her character a little bit more, but the small amount of her that we get, no pun intended, in the film is actually still solid. I always liked her. I mean, there's not a bad performance in this movie. I mean, Benny, great foil, great reveal, of his betrayal. We've already talked about Ironside and Ronnie Cox, and man, it really kind of Michael Ironside does a really good job of making a boss character look like a boss, because Michael Ironside getting yelled at and then looking down at his shoes is not something that we're used to. Usually Michael Ironside is running things, much more akin to like Turbo Kid than, say what we get here. But he like Cort said, he's at the same time understated, yet somehow one of the biggest personalities in this movie. And it's just, a stellar performance, I think, by him. Of course, yes, Ronnie Cox, reuniting with Verhoven again. I actually, Cort mentioned this being his favorite Verhoven. I actually tend to lean more towards RoboCop. I couldn't give you a specific reason why, other than I just have always, RoboCop's another movie. I actually saw RoboCop multiple times in theaters during its initial run. I loved it that much. But, great to see, Ronnie Cox again. I mean, what can we possibly say about this? I every time I watch this movie, I forget how attractive Sharon Stone actually was. I'm not the biggest Sharon Stone fan as far as her films go. And honestly, I didn't really watch a lot of her stuff in the 90s other than like this and maybe The Specialist. I think that might have been it, honestly. Never saw Basic Instinct.
To this day, you've never seen it? Wow.
I have never seen it. I've seen scenes, like I've seen the rabbit scene, and I've seen,
I'm sure you've seen the scene.
yeah. There've been lots of different scenes, and the ending. I mean, I've seen the ending in various top 10 lists, blah blah blah. But No, I've never actually sat down to watch it. Dramas, for the most, like dramas is a genre of film that I tend to kind of avoid. Like the way I look at it is life is drama. Why would I want to separate myself from my life for 2 hours to watch someone else's drama? It's just, I want to be entertained by my movies. Not to say that drama isn't entertaining. Of course it is. But just for someone like me, it's not. So, whatever. But yeah, again, total instinct, total recall, total instinct. Oh man. Anyway.
If you put the three-boobed lady into Total Instinct and make it like a porn parody of Total Recall, but like it's a mashup of Basic Instinct, I'm in.
I just want to see. I want to see Schwarzenegger in Basic Instinct. That'd be great. What did you do to my rabbit? Come on, awesome. Anyway, I'm running long again. I'm sorry, folks. For regular listeners of Mike and I's shows, Mike and myself's podcasts know that I like to talk, and sometimes I need to be told to shut up. So, the long and the short of it is, absolutely fucking love Total Recall. Watched it again today, still holds up. I mean, riveted for the whole 2 hours, never looked at my phone once. It's still one of those movies that commands your attention. It's a great story. I will say one of the only grievances I might have with this movie is just that Cohagen's plan was a little too convoluted. It's one of those plans where every single step has to go right or the whole thing goes to shit. And the convenient plot points, if you will, this movie doesn't use them egregiously necessarily, but they are there. So it's one of the only nitpicks I have about this movie is just Cohagen's plan in general, with Hauser and what he's doing with wiping his mind and blah blah blah. Yes, in the end it ends up working, but then in the end it also ends up being Cohagen's downfall too. So say what you will about that, but ultimately, love the movie, fun time. It is absolutely a time capsule of 1990. I mean, if this is what sci-fi would have remained beyond the 90s, maybe I would have stuck with it more. But, sci-fi kind of went more the Gravity and Interstellar routes, which, again, nothing wrong with that if you love those movies, but they kind of tend to lean too much into the sci-fi for me personally, whereas Mrs. Venom adores sci-fi. Like the movies that I just named are some of her favorites ever, and God bless her for it, because I don't really like sci-fi that much. So she tolerates my horror, I tolerate her sci-fi, and that's worked for us for 30 plus years. So we'll keep sticking with that. But yeah, again, what can I say? What else can I say about this movie? Absolutely love it. So let me just shut up and say back to you, Mike, or Suzanne, whoever's hosting this segment.
That was habit.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, when you said Arnold and Basic Instinct, the first thing I thought it was, what are you gonna do? Arrest me for smoking? But
as he puffs on a huge cigar, right?
And I'm sorry, but wasn't the bunny Fatal Attraction?
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything because we were already going long.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. See, another movie I've never seen. I mixed up two movies I've never seen.
And doing, whoa, wait, no, I don't remember a bunny unless there is like some uncut thing.
Fatal Recall. There.
Yeah. Fatal Basic Instinct
Fatal
Recall.
Instinct. Basic Attraction. Yes.
We just wrote like 7 erotic thrillers here.
I love it.
Asylum, if you're listening. So my thoughts on Total Recall. I mean, I echo everything that's been said. It's hard to say anything new about this. I think it's an intersection of two people in their prime, Arnold and Paul Verhoeven. Like Arnold's run in like the 80s, and then Verhoeven's run, like it's like you're right in the middle of two people that just can't miss. So when they team up, it's like, what else were we expecting but a badass action movie with sci-fi elements? I love the fact that there's kind of two prevailing theories of what's going on or what was going on through the duration of the movie, and either one kind of works. So I'm kind of interested to see where we all fall on that. We can probably bring that up maybe at the end to like conclude our Total Recall thoughts. But another cast that's just stacked. I mean, Sharon Stone was already mentioned. It's funny because like I don't know if it's because Basic Instinct was such a big imprint in her career that a lot of people don't even think of Sharon Stone when they think of Total Recall. But yeah, I think that was like right where I barely said anything after, but that's fine. Okay, so Michael Ironside, a great. I love how he's like the number two, but really with the aspirations to be number one, and he's kind of like he's part of the big plan with Cohagen, but he still kind of wants to do his own thing. And that's always like your best kind of number two henchman is like they really want to be the main guy. So they will take direction and they'll take orders to a certain extent, but he kind of goes semi-rogue at certain points in the movie. So that's cool. I love Roy Brocksworth, the doctor they send in to try to like trick him to pull. Oh, I'm pulling you out. This is just a recall dream, and he gets super aggressive. And then he takes a bullet to the head. That's such a great scene. But yeah, I love the story. I feel like sometimes it's difficult to pull off big concepts. Like if you're gonna make a big, what people would call as like a big dumb action movie, or in this case, an action sci-fi movie. Sometimes it's safe just to go easy concept, but I feel like this one has like pretty cool bigger ideas and they pull it off, and that's to me something Verhoven is like really good at, is these big concepts and deep ideas, these layered subtext, and he always pulls it off so great, and that's what makes these movies memorable. That's why we're still talking about not just this, but a lot of stuff from his filmography, like all these years later. That's why a lot of these remakes fail, even when they're not terrible, like as just kind of straight dumb action movies. They don't stand the test of time like Verhoven and just this era in general. So I mean, I guess I'll keep it brief just because like it's one of those classic movies, at least for our generation. Like there's not a whole lot new to say about it. But yeah, I love Total Recall. I have the 4K. I throw it on. I almost consider this like a comfort movie. Like when I don't know what to watch and everything you look at, you're kind of not in the mood for. It's stuff like this, like the first Predator. It's like you just can't go wrong. You know you're going to be entertained no matter how many times you've seen it before. So yeah, Total Recall is a total winner for me. So I'll leave it at that.
No, I saw this in the theater a couple of times when it came out. And the one thing I love about it is how seamless the effects are. I mean, it still to this day holds up back. It still looks really good, but I still enjoy watching. I mean, I remember when I first saw it, I was just amazed at how they used all of the computer aided graphics. It really was enough to be able to suspend disbelief. The story, yeah, when I was trying to find the story, I know I have it somewhere. And I think I spent more time looking for the damn book than I did actually going, oh shit, I need to watch the movie again. But I've always been a big fan of Philip K. Dick anyway. But, a few more thoughts. Michael Ironside's sidekick, Michael Champion, this guy, he did a lot of TV, he did a few movies, but this guy should have done a whole lot more henching, because he is just a great henchman. He's just a little sarcastic, mean little bastard. Love him for it. Always love Ronnie Cox. Ronnie Cox always has that swagger to him. And yeah, the plot for Mars, yeah, convoluted as hell. But I mean, are we actually really watching this for plot? No, we are watching this for just some of the greatest actors, especially, like I said, we've all discussed Schwarzenegger, and this was prime. Arnold was just the biggest box office draw in the world, but he always brought charisma to it. And that charisma just carries. So I'm going to keep this incredibly brief since everybody's pretty much covered, all of the fine points and broad strokes. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen this movie, get out from under your rock. This is prime.
I want to first Ed 209 kill were the most violent things I saw on film up to that point.
You kind of cut out on that one, so we didn't quite get all of that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the escalator kill and the Ed 209 kill from RoboCop were probably the most violent things I saw on film up to that point, because I was only like maybe 10, 11 years old at the time of seeing it. Because I'm sure my dad rented these, and my parents were pretty like liberal with what I watched, even at a young age. So we were just watching it on the couch, and I was just like, holy shit, like graphic as hell. I had not yet seen like Hong Kong action cinema John Woo stuff yet. So this might have been like the cream of the
I did want to state, too, that while I said that Total Recall is my favorite Verhoeven film, it's because of how much I enjoy it. I will 100% admit that I would say RoboCop is his best film, and I think I like the unrated version of RoboCop more than anything Total Recall as well. Mm-hmm. But I still will always be able to go back to Total Recall and know I'm going to enjoy it. Sometimes I get a little morose when I'm watching RoboCop and I think about how dark that world actually is, and I'm not just enjoying the like cyborg revenge.
Now, my favorite Verhoeven, I'm sorry, I love Starship Troopers, but once again, I'm a Philip K. Dick fan, and I'm not a huge sci-fi person, but for some reason, his sci-fi is incredibly easy to read and digest.
Yeah.
So
Very
what I'm going to do
palatable.
right now, yes. All right, I'm going to go around. Any final thoughts on our films? Cort.
This is a great double feature, if nothing more than to see two very similar looking growths that have more personality than the person they were attached to.
Venom. Very nice.
Oh, man. I mean, again, what can I say? I watch Basket Case to see Old New York, and I watch Total Recall for Triple Tits and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And by the way, I gotta say, I'm on this watch. I was impressed that Arnold said "clever girl" 4 years before Jurassic Park stole it from them. So
I actually wrote that down in my notes.
Okay, now I got to go back and see if I can clock that, because that's awesome.
When they're in the apartment after he's looking over his shoulder and sees everybody coming up the stairs, he goes, "Clever girl."
Yeah, okay.
Like after she says like, "You can tie me up," right? She's trying to like seduce him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, final thoughts?
Yeah, super fun double feature. Two movies on like the opposite sides of the filmmaking spectrum. We have a fun, low budget, dark, grimy movie and a huge blockbuster that will just blow your socks off. So watch them both.
All right. And that is your Cinema Beef. I'm going to take a brief break and we'll close out the show.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
All right, cool. Cort, where can people find you? What are you doing?
Well, the Cinema Psyops podcast is still going. We're still available on Legion Podcasts. You can search us out there. Really, really easy to find. Or if you're just subscribed to the main Legion feed, we're going to be coming into your ears, whether you want to or not. And for people that are trying to reach me that have lost me off of the social medias, I'm still available at cinemapsyopscourt@gmail.com. I'm also available on Signal. And if I really, really like you, you might get my cell phone number.
All right, Venom.
All right, for me, you can hear me most of the same places you can hear Mike on the No More Room in Hell family of podcasts. That includes our weekly show, Fresh Cuts, the main show, of course, No More Room in Hell, our what was intended to be bi-monthly, but kind of ends up being our monthly, review, very similar to what we do here. And then we also have Creature Comforts, which is our monthly look at our favorite creature features. On the latest episode there, we took a look at Deep Rising from 2002, or wait, 1998. I'm sorry, 98. But yeah, Deep Rising, that's episode 52 of Creature Comforts. And then a show that I hope comes back sooner than later, the Crystal Lake Gift Shop, is a podcast that Mike and myself do with Miss Lacey Liu from the Cut to the Chase family of podcasts, where we look at an episode by episode retrospective of the original Friday the 13th television series, which actually has nothing to do with Crystal Lake, but I still like the title, so we went with it. And I'll let Mike talk about the latest episode of the main show, and that's pretty much it from me. There was a time when I was on double-digit podcasts, but obviously I'm unable to keep up that kind of cadence anymore for podcasting, so I stick to the No More Room in Hell family, so pretty much that's where you can find me.
All right, Mike.
All right, the weekly show is Fresh Cuts, where we cover brand new horror releases. The latest one we did, I think, was Hungry, the Killer Hippo movie. So
the Killer Hippo movie that is better than it has any right to be.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for them to turn that board game into a movie.
Does the hippo die? I don't want.
Is that a spoiler? I think that's a spoiler.
I don't want the hippo to die.
Watch it.
Yeah, no spoilers.
I'll just leave it at that. Watch it. Go ahead. And watch
no spoilers, because
I
I haven't seen it and I want to watch it. And if it dies, it dies.
The one thing I forgot to ask, I guess we can close it out with a question. We don't even have to get in depth. We can just give a quick answer and then get the hell out of here. Total Recall. Are you with the theory that once he went to Recall, the rest of the movie was actually a Recall dream, or that he actually was an agent that double-crossed Cohagen and became a hero?
I can go.
That's a loaded question, because
I can honestly say that I have always thought that he was having an aneurysm and that he really is dying, and it's always been a horror movie in my head, and that we're only watching the good scenarios he dies.
No, I agree with that. I think he's in a coma and he's dreaming.
I've always taken it at face value just because I enjoy what my eyes are watching. So it's one of those things where if a movie kind of retcons itself by saying it was a dream, or if they do the what is it, the Jacob's Ladder type ending, those kind of endings tend to leave me a little sour. So I look at it at face value that yes, this all occurred. He's on Mars. Mars now has an atmosphere, and nothing against the other theory by any stretch. There's validity to both. Honestly, there's arguments for both, and there's probably more arguments to say that he was just stuck at Recall. But just because of the way I like to look at my movies, I like to take it at face value and say yes, everything in the movie actually happened.
Okay, yeah. I originally was a face value person. Now I'm kind of 50-50 because I watched someone do like an analysis of it, and they made a pretty good argument that like when he's laying out like his interests and wants and desires, it almost is like a play-by-play of like what's to come for the rest of the movie. So I was like, oh man, now I'm kind of torn between which theory.
But wouldn't it make sense? Wouldn't it make sense if that was Hauser, that these are actually memories, not desires?
Yeah, but that's the thing that's great about the movie, is it leaves it ambiguous enough so that you could have this discussion and you can have your different interpretations. And I don't always lean on the side, and I have not always leaned on the side. It's just that I enjoy watching it more, pretending like that this is actually just a hallucination of a dying mind. Like, it's just more fun that way. Like, it's total Jacob's Ladder for me in that regard. And I really enjoy those kinds of movies that have those different layers to them. And it's always better to leave it ambiguous and not give you a definitive answer. I'm looking at you, Inception.
And it doesn't hurt it either way in this case, too, which is cool.
Oh, yeah. definitely.
Yeah, I think it does add that layer to it because I hate it when movies spoon feed everything to you. I'm like, no, 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 no. Let me have something. Let me have a conversation point. And yeah, I've always, from the first time I saw it, I was always thinking, he's in a coma. But that's just the way I kind of think. And well, I think, is that enough? Have we all said our piece?
It's funny that we came 50-50 on this, and you can tell who the real pessimists are on this podcast. It's like Suzanne.
Oh, shit.
I'm definitely the glass half empty kind of person.
I'm more the glass
everybody.
overflowing person.
All right, everybody. And it's been a pleasure to have Mr. Venom and Mr. Psyops join us tonight. And this has been your episode of the Cinema Beef Podcast. If you've got beef, we've got the grinder. Good night, all.
Peace.
Adios.